In every family, there is one child who, by virtue of being born first, carries something the others never quite have to carry: the hopes, the fears, the dreams, the unknown. For the Roloff family, that child arrived on May 12, 2017. A 9-pound, 1-ounce baby boy, 20.5 inches long, delivered by cesarean section in Oregon to first-time parents Zach and Tori Roloff. They named him Jackson Kyle Roloff. He was, in that moment, the first grandchild of Matt and Amy Roloff. He was the first Roloff baby of the next generation, and he was, like his father, born with achondroplasia, a fact the family had already learned during Tori's 34-week ultrasound. Jackson was loved before he ever opened his eyes. He was anticipated before he ever drew his first breath. He was claimed by an entire family and an entire fan base that had watched his father grow up on television before he was old enough to know what claim or family or fan base even meant. Tonight on LPBW Update, we are walking through the full Jackson Kyle Roloff story, the birth that changed the Roloff family forever, the 3-leg surgeries he has already had before age 9, the famous father-son conversation about what it means to be a little person, the soccer games, the kindergarten milestones, the trips abroad, the role he has played simply by being born in the broader Roloff family healing of 2025. Because Jackson is not just a Roloff grandchild, he is, in many ways, the most important Roloff of the next generation. And his story, as he turns 9 in 2026, is one of the most quietly powerful narratives in the entire family. Let us start at the beginning. The pregnancy itself was, in many ways, a story everyone in the Roloff family was watching. Zach Roloff, the son of Matt and Amy, was the only one of the 4 Roloff siblings to inherit dwarfism. He has achondroplasia, the most common form of dwarfism, the same form his mother Amy has. When Zach and Tori married in 2015, the question of what their children would be like was on everyone's minds, including theirs. The genetic odds were clear. Because Zach has achondroplasia and Tori is of average height, every pregnancy they had would carry approximately a 50% chance that the baby would inherit the achondroplasia gene. Zach and Tori were prepared for either outcome. They had said publicly that they would love the baby no matter what. They had access to the broader Little People of America community and the medical knowledge that came with it. They were, by every measure, well equipped to handle either possibility. Still, the pregnancy was not stress-free. At around the 34-week ultrasound, doctors told them that Jackson's limbs were measuring below average. Zach called his mother Amy immediately after the appointment. He told her, in his own words, that all the limbs were measuring below average. It was not for sure yet, but the signs pointed to Jackson having inherited the same condition his father had. Amy listened. She supported. She told Zach what mattered was that the baby was loved, and the family waited. Jackson Kyle Roloff arrived on May 12, 2017. The birth went smoothly. Tori had a cesarean section. Jackson was healthy, robust, and big for a baby with achondroplasia. 9 pounds and 1 ounce is a solid weight by any standard. He was, by every visible measure, a strong baby ready to take on the world. The diagnosis was confirmed shortly after birth. Jackson had achondroplasia. He would, like his father, grow up to be a little person. The Roloff family welcomed him with the kind of joy that only first-time grandparents can feel. Amy posted on social media that this grandma was so blessed and loved getting to see baby Jackson all the time. She said the farm was made for family and kids, and now her kid's kid. She said she was very thankful. Matt celebrated as well, despite the fact that he and Amy were no longer married. The family, in that moment of Jackson's arrival, found a kind of common ground that had been hard to come by since the divorce. The grandchild united them. The first few years of Jackson's life were a steady cascade of milestones that fans of Little People Big World watched with delight. There was the first time he sat up, the first time he crawled, the first time he walked, the first words, the first solid foods, the first birthday party, the transition from toddler to preschooler, the development of his personality, which by all accounts is bright, curious, energetic, and warm. Jackson loved tractors. He still loves tractors. He grew up on Roloff farms during pumpkin season, surrounded by the machines and the structures his grandfather Matt had built. He developed a particular affinity for soccer, the same sport his father had played growing up. He was, in every sense, a happy kid finding his way through childhood. Tori, in May of 2019, wrote a beautiful Instagram post about her son. She said she often forgot that her son was any different than other people's. She said she forgot he had shorter legs because he could get around and run just like any other 2-year-old. She said she forgot he had short arms because he could still reach everything around the house, including the stuff she and Zach did not want him to reach. That post, in its quiet wisdom, captured something important about how Zach and Tori were choosing to raise Jackson. They were not making his dwarfism the center of his identity. They were not making it the lens through which everything was filtered. He was Jackson. He happened to have achondroplasia. The achondroplasia was a feature of his life, not the totality of it. But the medical realities of having achondroplasia, as we have talked about in our video about Zach's medical journey, are not optional. They are real. People with achondroplasia can experience orthopedic complications, including bowed legs that need to be surgically corrected to prevent long-term mobility issues. Zach himself had 3 leg surgeries during his childhood, including the one that required surgeons to break his legs in 3 places to insert corrective metal plates. Jackson, sadly, would walk that same path. In June of 2022, when Jackson was just 5 years old, he had his first leg surgery. The procedure involved putting screws and plates into his growth plates to slow down the abnormal growth in his legs. Tori explained on the show that Jackson's legs would still be bowed initially, but that over time, as he continued to grow, they would straighten out. The surgery was a precautionary measure designed to set Jackson up for a healthy adult mobility. He came through it well. The recovery was hard, but he handled it like a champion. The Roloff family rallied around him. Matt and Amy were both present and supportive. Even in the middle of their personal conflicts, the grandparents put everything aside for their grandson's surgery and recovery. Then in 2024, Jackson had a moment that brought tears to his father's eyes when Zach recounted it. Jackson, who was around 7 years old at the time, asked Zach about a friend who could not compete in an upcoming Dwarf Athletic Association of America sporting event. Zach explained that Jackson's friend was not going to be at the event because he was not a dwarf. Jackson paused, looked at his father, and asked, "What, I am a dwarf? What does that mean?" Zach told Tori later, with a half laugh and a wince, that he had had to have what he called the dwarf talk with his son too early. He explained, in interviews and on the show, that he had answered Jackson's questions truthfully and carefully. He was mindful, he said, of not projecting his own insecurities and worries onto Jackson. He did not want to show too much emotion or make too big a deal of it. He just wanted to give Jackson the tools to understand his own body. That moment, that simple father-son conversation in the kitchen of their Washington home, was one of the most meaningful parenting moments in the entire Roloff family story. Because Zach was passing down to Jackson the same understanding that Amy had passed down to him, and that Matt's parents had passed down to Matt. The intergenerational knowledge of how to be a little person in an average-sized world. The vocabulary, the confidence, the framework, the pride. Zach gave Jackson all of that in age-appropriate language in the natural course of a conversation about a friend's sports event. That is parenting. That is legacy. That is love. In August of 2025, Jackson had his 3rd leg surgery. He was 8 years old. Tori, characteristically, shared the news on Instagram with the kind of pride that only a mother who has watched her child go through something difficult can muster. She wrote that Jackson had proved he was stronger than titanium, and she hoped he was not stronger than vanadium, in a reference to the materials being used in his orthopedic hardware. She said he had taken the surgery like a champ. She said she had had 0 doubts, but he had every right to complain and he had not. She wrote that Jackson taught her so much every single day. His resilience and patience, she said, were unreal. Watching him today do something he did not want to do with Grace was so humbling. She was so proud, she said, to be his mom. The post drew an outpouring of support from fans, family, and even other parents whose children had faced similar surgeries. Jackson's recovery was reported as going well. Within days, Tori shared that he was barely in any pain and that the family was deeply grateful for all the prayers and messages they had received. What is Jackson's life like in 2026 between his medical procedures and his other interests? By every visible measure, it is a happy, active, full childhood. He is in school. He has friends. He plays soccer. He loves tractors. He spends time with his cousins when family gatherings happen. He visits his grandfather Matt at the farm. He is close to his grandmother Amy. He has a loving relationship with his siblings Lila and Josiah, both of whom also have achondroplasia. He is, in many ways, the leader of the cousin pack at family gatherings, the oldest of the 8 Roloff grandchildren, the one the others sometimes look up to. He has been to Lila's sporting events and his own. He has traveled with his family. He has, in August of 2025, even gone abroad with his father Zach for a soccer tournament that became significant in the family story because Zach skipped Matt's Thanksgiving dinner to be at it. Jackson, in other words, is doing what 8-year-olds do. He is growing up. He is becoming his own person, and he is doing it in a family that loves him completely. Jackson's role in the broader Roloff family story is, I think, more important than fans sometimes realize, because the choice that Matt and Zach had to make about whether to fully break apart or to find their way back together was in significant part about Jackson and his siblings. Matt could not give up on his children's children. Zach could not deny his children's grandfather. The grandchildren, by simply existing, by being lovable and innocent and deserving of having their entire family present in their lives, forced the older generations to find a way forward. The August 9th, 2025 photo of Matt at Lila's sporting event with Amy and Chris was not really about Matt or Amy. It was about Lila and her right to have her grandparents at her events. The Christmas 2025 reunion was not really about the adults. It was about the cousins playing together and the grandkids opening presents. The healing of the Roloff family in 2025 was driven in significant part by the next generation. And Jackson, as the oldest of that generation, has been at the front of that quiet but powerful force. Looking ahead, what does Jackson's future hold? The honest answer is that nobody knows. He could grow up to be many things. He could follow his father into being a public advocate for the achondroplasia community. He could choose a more private path like his Aunt Molly. He could go into farming like his Uncle Jacob. He could go into business or education or technology or whatever else his interests lead him to. His parents, by every visible measure, are raising him to make those decisions for himself. Tori has emphasized in multiple interviews that she and Zach are committed to letting their children figure out who they are. They are not pushing Jackson toward any particular career or identity. They are giving him love, support, resources, and the freedom to discover his own path. What is certain is that Jackson will continue to face the medical realities of his condition. There will likely be more orthopedic monitoring as he grows. There may be additional surgeries down the road depending on how his bones develop. The shunt that his father Zach has, the brain fluid management system that has been so significant in Zach's adult life, may or may not be something Jackson eventually needs as well. The medical complexities of achondroplasia are real and lifelong. But Jackson has, even at age 8, demonstrated that he has the temperament to handle them. He has shown his parents and his family that he has the strength, the patience, and the resilience to face whatever comes. He is, as Tori said, stronger than titanium, and that strength will serve him for the rest of his life. What I want to highlight, more than anything else, is the role Jackson plays in helping families like his find each other. There are families across America right now who have just received the news that their unborn child or their newborn has achondroplasia. They are searching the internet for information. They are looking for resources. They are looking for representation. They are looking for hope. And one of the things they find almost immediately is Jackson Roloff. They see his photos. They see his videos. They see his Instagram posts. They see this happy, smiling, active little boy who is living a full childhood with the same condition their child has. Jackson, by simply existing on social media, is doing for the next generation of achondroplasia families what Little People, Big World did for the parents of the previous generation. He is providing visibility. He is providing reassurance. He is providing a sense that their child's life is not going to be defined by limitation, but by possibility. That is a remarkable contribution for an 8-year-old to make. He does not know he is making it. He does not need to know. He is just being himself. And that, in this case, is more than enough. So I want to know what you think. What is your favorite Jackson Roloff moment from the years you have been following his journey? Has Jackson's openness through his family's social media helped you or someone you love better understand achondroplasia? And do you think Jackson will eventually return to television in some form? Or do you think his parents are right to keep his life more private now that the show has ended? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to LPBW Update, and ring the bell so you do not miss our weekly Roloff family stories. We are committed to bringing you the truth, the timeline, and the heart of every member of this remarkable family. I will see you on the next one.